And we are live. Happy snow day. I am talking to one person. It could be me. It could be me talking to me. But I'm going to do my normal lives that I do on YouTube, improvisational synth experiences that I do on YouTube. I'm just going to try it on the Substack and see how it goes. I am new to posting in general. My name is khayaalat. I live in Harlem, New York, and I love improvisational music, theater, dance, anything that I feel like I can really connect to the present in. And I'm also a passionate student of this synth, specifically the snore that has changed my life because I have found that I can never recreate the sound once I have created it. And that is something that I think we could all use more, like the inability to replicate and buy our experience and own it. I don't know how much of life we really own. And with that, I will start. Whoever is still here, hi. This is weird for me. I usually do this like recorded and then I just upload it without editing. But this is my first time doing this live and there's like a lot of pressure and I'm not only doing justice to the synth or the talent or you, but um, I need to get my wisdom tooth extracted. That's why it's swollen. I'm at 48 minutes and 26 seconds. That's insane. I don't even know what I've been doing.
तेरा ही सहारा है 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 तेरा ही तेरा ही तेरा ही तेरा ही तेरा ही तेरा ही सहारा है तेरा ही सहारा है तेरा ही सहारा
Mira, Sapphire, 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 Sapphire. Wow, another person. Hello. I have 54 minutes, so I think I'm about to be done here. But I can also read from History, Society, and Land Relations, selected essays by E.M.S. Nangbo Depad. Talks a lot about post British colonial land acquisition and how it changed the way we use land and celebrate land in India and outside of the diaspora. What is diaspora? What is that even? What is the diaspora even? So today I played with the Lord lead. Thank you to everybody who watched, the three people. Thank you, including probably myself in a future time. Today we played a lot with the arpeggiator, shopper, and we also played with the envelopes and the filters. I really enjoyed the filters today, and specifically messing with frequency and resonance. And essentially, when you have your arpeggiator on and your filter on, the higher the resonance, the more the sounds blend together. And the lower the resonance, the more they're separated. And frequency, of course, is speed and distance. Faster speed over less time is frequency. And what I love about changing frequency in the filter is that it changes the sound completely, but it doesn't just change the pitch. Listen to that. So at a high enough frequency, that other sound is just wiped out. And this is, we haven't changed the resonance. Now let's go back to the old sound and change the resonance. Do you see how the sine waves are like swinging together? Now let me go back down. This is resonance lower. This is resonance higher. Like you hear the different waves in this one. And in this one, they all blend. You still hear the points. And the points are part of the filter settings. So now if I go down the resonance to normal and I go up on the frequency and up on the resonance, now let's hear it. So I go all the way up until that. You hear that? That's a sound that gets cut. So if you want to cut a high frequency sound, you actually just speed it up until it's non-existent. And then you increase the resonance and all you hear, you you definitely hear those separate waves, but you're hearing the E in the lower on the medium octave. I think it's like an E2 and the E3. You're hearing the E's, um, but you're not hearing all the points that they make. You are hearing the dots. The dots could be the static, unfortunately, from my speaker. And it could also be that the sound is moving fast enough and the resonance is high enough where the vibrations blend, like we just talked about. So now we're going to reduce the envelope and see what that does. So this is at a high envelope, and this is a low envelope. Basically, envelope is how much the sound is being covered like a blanket. And this is at a low envelope. You can feel that the sound is kind of all over the place. And as we increase the envelope, same thing happens, but this is at a high frequency. Let me actually turn it down so we can hear it. This is a young envelope. Oh, what a beautiful sound. What a beautiful sound. So this is E and E on arpeggiation with the not a I would say the frequency is like not at halfway of its maximum, but a fourth. And the resonance is a little bit less than half. So you are hearing the different waves. Let's do a lower resonance with this one. It's a very heavy bass. I still love this watery, bubbly one. Oh, and this is one of my favorites. This like hollow wood sound. It's a heavy bass again. Yeah, this sounds like tap dancing, but like underwater, you know? And then let's go increase the envelope just to play with it. So what are you hearing? You're hearing, actually, I hear a stretching. I hear a stretching. I hear a stretching, which is weird. Oh, because the envelope is increasing. The size of the envelope is increasing. So I initially thought envelope was like the higher it is, the more compressed the sound is. But envelope, as it increases, you're increasing the reach of the sound. You're taking the blanket off a little bit. Low envelope, it's nice and tight. Okay, I think that's good. I think we'll stop there. Join me next time. I did these on YouTube at khayaalat, youtube.com/khayaalat. I think it's KHAYAALAT. And this was fun. I can't do live on YouTube yet because I don't have enough subscribers. So if you want to subscribe to me on YouTube, it makes me uncomfortable, but who gives a crap? Um, this world is collapsing and imperialism is falling apart at the seams because the people have woken up and we are not falling asleep again. We're going to stay awake and the suburbs will have to deal with it. The suburbs will awake when the suburbs need to awaken. But for those of us not in the suburbs, we don't have a choice to just ignore what's happening because we don't own our own houses and our rents are growing and our groceries are getting more expensive and the job market is impossible. So if you haven't already started your own business, do that. You don't have to register it as an LLC, but try to think about the product or service you would sell and market and trade because we're in that kind of economy where you have to rely, like we did in the old days, on trade and bartering and relying less on cash and more on community. And with that, land Relations, History, and Society, selected essays by AMS Nambudripad. Just read a little excerpt that I just flipped to. The spokesmen of traditional Indian politics were above all our lawgivers whose writings are generally called the Dharma Sutra. What these lawmakers were basically concerned with was, of course, the safety of the social structure, which they considered as the ideal one. Such a social structure generally goes by the name Varnasrama, by which is meant a society in which the conduct of everybody must be regulated by the caste in which he or she is born, as also by the stage of life reached by everyone. Concretely, however, it stood for the norm of a society in which a minority of the population, consisting of nobles, priests, and traders, were entitled to all material privileges, though in varying degrees. The rest of the people, which could only mean the direct producers whose surplus products alone could create the material benefits to the Dwijas, was dumped under the general category called Sudras. And the lawmakers insisted that these direct producers were entitled to have nothing more than was essential to keep themselves alive. Their only duty was to serve the upper strata of society because the Creator Himself brought them into exclusively for this specific purpose. The struggle between idealism and materialism in India was, in other words, the manifestation of the Indian variety of class struggle. A minority of upper castes, the Vedas, as opposed to the overwhelming majority of the common people, the latter being engaged in physical labor for their livelihood, were in constant touch with the various phenomena of nature. The ideas that they formed of the universe around them was natural and materialist. The narrow upper layer of society, on the other hand, depended on intellectual exercises and were therefore moved by ideas in the mental horizon rather than phenomena of nature. They developed themselves into idealists, those who assert the supremacy of ideas over nature. The most sophisticated expression of this idealistic outlook was Shankara's Advaita Vedanta, which asserted everything other than the Brahman, the absolute idea, as avidya or non existent. Out of the ranks of the overwhelming majority of people who engaged themselves in physical labor, artisans, and others, arose the various schools of materialism. This class as a whole and the ideological representation of this class, however, were completely at the mercy of the idealist philosophers. It was therefore an unequal battle between the toiling people who were inherently materialistic in outlook and those who lorded it over them with their idealistic philosophy. The battle between the Buddhists and the Vedantins was, in fact, the final engagement between the two forces. And the Vedantins was, in fact, and Shankara was the commander in chief of the idealists in that battle in its last stages. The defeat administered. No, I really want to finish this. Oh, I hear. No, where did it go? I want to finish this page. Aha. The defeat administered to the Buddhist materialists was therefore the victory of the dominant upper caste whose theoreticians championed idealism. Okay, I could keep going because this is really interesting, but please leave if you need to leave. I'm going to keep going. Science's growth and decline. The battle between the two ideological trends did much to develop the various branches of natural sciences. Astronomy, mathematics, chemistry, medicine were so developed in ancient India that this country not only equaled but excelled most other countries in terms of ancient civilization. The defeat of the Buddhist materialists at the hands of Shankara, however, meant a big setback to the development of Indian science. The pioneer historian of Indian science observes. Among the people ridden by caste and high bound by authorities and injunction of Vedas, Puranas, and Smritis, and having their intellect thus clamped and paralyzed, no Boyle could arise to lay down sound principles for guidance. While India, after the defeat of the materialists at the hands of the idealists, was thus stagnant, Europe, which had earlier been behind India in ancient days, was going through fundamental socio-cultural transformation. The eminent scientist and historian of science H.G. Bernal refers to the European Renaissance as having healed, though only partially, the breach between aristocratic theory and plebeian practice. Boring, 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 blah, 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 blah. The question, however, was not merely of the decline of science in Indian history. It was a question of what Karl Marx called undignified, stagnatory, and vegetative life in pre-British India. The village communities in India, as Marx saw them, were contaminated by distinctions of caste and slavery. Marx further noted such a brutalizing worship of nature, exhibiting its degradation in the fact that man, the sovereign of nature, fell down on his knees in adoration of Hanuman, the monkey, and Savala, the cow. This had its political implication that the country lost its independence. Saying, Marx, this is a quote from Marx, the paramount power of the Mughals was broken by the Mughal viceroys. The power of the viceroys was broken by the Maharathas. The power of the Maharathas was broken by the Afghans. And while all were struggling against all, Britain rushed in and was unable to subdue them all. That's like my weird Karl Marx accent. I don't think that's correct. Considering that this happened to a country which, once again, to quote Marx, has been the source of our Europeans' languages or religion, the question naturally arises, why and how did our country fall from its brilliant antiquity to the degradation of pre-British days? The answer is that the defeat of the oppressed caste at the hands of the Brahminic overlordship of materialism by idealism constituted the beginning of the fall of India's civilization and culture, which in the end led to the loss of national independence. Okay, I'm going to stop there, but because of my reading comprehension skills, have to review what I just read. And what I just read was that pre-colonial pre-British arrival, India was already kind of in disarray from a massive change in the or it was faced with the battle between idealism and materialism. In that idealism, which was represented by the Brahminic caste or those that identified a beautiful perfection with the Most High, and continued on in trying to represent God on earth. This kind of went against the materialism of regular folks living in India, which was driven by nature and nature's realities, like for food and water and shelter and good climate and good resources for food and growth. So the idealism was starting to conflict with the materialism and the growing needs, perhaps, of those that were not being addressed by the upper caste. So there was a growing disillusionment from the aristocrats who were very upper echelon thinking philosophically and reciting their Sanskrit and knowing it by heart versus those on the ground creating the materials, growing the food that actually had a completely different reality, that we're not just in the clouds thinking about God, but we're actually thinking about how to plant the next crop of garlic before the rains come. And that is probably what's similarly happening today is we are subject to colonization because we have allowed a working class to be separated from intellectualism, from growth, of philosophy, from the study of the stars, and we have allowed a very small amount of people to have access to this level of philosophy and theory, and money and power is consolidated there, but that might not be the money and power part might be separate. But I do am excited. I do am excited to continue reading this. Again, this is history, land, and Land History Society and Land Relations by E.M.S. Namboodiripad, and I got this. He was among India's pioneering communist leaders and a Marxist theoretician of enormous stature. He became chief minister of Kerala on two occasions in 1857 at the head of the historic first communist government, and again in 1967 as the head of seven-party coalition. Okay, one thing I want to tell you is this publisher's called Left Word, and you can buy the materials online or visit the People's Forum. And I encourage you that at this time you stay active and don't lose hope. There are a lot of people in working very hard in fighting against this regime. So give not your hope away. Continue making music and art, and continue reading inspiring literature, and continue gathering with your friends. All right then, goodbye. Oh, hi guys. Okay, I didn't see the names. Okay. These are both my um musical partners. Okay, I'm leaving. Goodbye.